So, when does a simple chat about a price actually become a legally binding deal? It's a fantastic question, and it's one that trips people up all the time. The answer, believe it or not, comes from a story that's over 100 years old, about a piece of property with a name you won't forget.
Okay, picture this. You ask a seller for their absolute lowest price. They give you a number. You immediately say, "I'll take it." You've got a deal, right? A binding contract? Well, you might be surprised to learn that the law could see that completely differently.
To really get to the bottom of this, we have to travel all the way back to 1893 to a landmark case from Jamaica called Harvey versus Facey, and it all revolves around a single piece of property, but the court's decision then still fundamentally shapes how we all buy and sell things today.
All right, so let's meet the main characters in our story. First up, we have Harvey, who's eager to buy. Then there's Facey, the guy who owns the property. And what's the prize they're both focused on? A property with the amazing name Bumper Hall Pen. Okay, the stage is set. Let the negotiations begin.
Now you gotta remember, this was 1893. The whole negotiation happened over Telegram, the super high-speed messaging of its time, and the entire argument, the whole reason we're talking about this today, comes down to just 3 short messages. Let's break them down.
So Harvey kicks things off with this first telegram. And pay close attention here, because this is absolutely critical. He's not asking one question, he's asking 2. First, are you even willing to sell? And second, if you are, what's your lowest price? That little distinction changes everything.
Facey's reply comes back, but notice what he does, or rather, what he doesn't do. He only answers the second question. He states the price is £900. He totally ignores that first, all-important question, will you sell? All he does is state a number.
So Harvey gets this reply and thinks, bingo, we have a deal. He immediately sends back this third telegram, fully believing he's just accepted Facey's offer and locked in the sale. But then, Facey refused to sell, and Harvey, feeling cheated, sued him.
And that brings us to the big question. Looking at just those 3 messages, was a contract actually formed? What do you think? Who's in the right here? Harvey, the buyer who thought he had a deal, or Facey, the owner, who walked away?
To solve this puzzle, the court had to pull out a fundamental legal tool. It's the critical difference between making a formal offer and what the law calls an invitation to treat, which is really just a fancy way of saying you're just supplying information.
A true offer is like putting a contract on the table and saying, "Sign here." The moment the other person says yes, boom, it's a binding deal. But a supply of information or an invitation to treat is totally different. It's like putting up a sign that says, "I'm open to discussing a deal." It doesn't promise anything, it just invites the other person to be the one to make the first move.
Okay, so armed with this legal distinction, the court went back and looked at those 3 telegrams, piece by piece, to figure out what really happened and deliver its verdict. Let's walk through their logic.
And here is where it all becomes crystal clear. The court said, look, Harvey's first telegram wasn't an offer, it was just asking questions. Facey's reply wasn't an offer to sell, it was just information, an answer to one of those questions. That means, and this is the kicker, Harvey's third telegram, the one saying, "We agree to buy," was actually the first real offer in the entire conversation. And since Facey never responded to that offer, there was no acceptance, no contract. End of story.
The court's own words really nail it down. Just telling someone the lowest price you'd be willing to sell for doesn't create some kind of implied promise to actually sell it to them. It's just a number. It's the other person, the one who asked, who then has to make the formal offer.
So I know what you might be thinking. An old case about telegrams, who cares, right? Well, it matters a ton. Because this exact principle, the difference between just giving a price and making a firm offer, is the bedrock of how we all buy and sell pretty much everything, every single day.
Seriously, think about it. That price tag on a sweater in a store, that's not an offer from the store. It's an invitation for you to make an offer to buy it when you get to the checkout. Same with the restaurant menu, a for sale sign on a lawn, even the items in your online shopping cart. In all those cases, you are the one making the offer to buy, and the seller has the final right to accept it or not.
So if you remember just one thing from all this, let it be this simple but powerful idea. A price is not a promise. It's just the starting point of a potential deal, not the end of one.
So the next time you're negotiating something, whether it's big or small, remember the case of the Bumper Hall pen and ask yourself, am I just gathering information right now, or am I about to make a firm, binding offer?
Because as Harvey and Facey found out the hard way, knowing the difference is everything.